Good morning. Welcome in. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. I was ready to start and realized I didn't have my glasses on, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to see squat. So I had to run to get my glasses. Welcome in. How's everyone today? Welcome in for Tuesday, almost April 1st. Can you believe it? Almost April 1st. How's everyone doing for Easter plans? Anyone have anything fun planned? All right. Please read the show notes. And in the show notes, I have starred bullets. Those are the most important information here. Those starred bullets are the links to all the official places where you can go and get official information from the official source, which is Whatnot. So make sure you have a screenshot of the show notes with those starred bullets. And then there's some other information in there, like my YouTube channel. And if you are going to ask any questions, put a question mark on your question so it shows up in bold. So, what's on everybody's mind today? This is my normal every Tuesday, Thursday walk and talk that I do. Seller chat. I get on the treadmill. And while I walk, I chat with you guys and give help to anyone in need that needs help learning how to navigate the app, how to sell, pointing you to information that you might need. So ask away if you have questions. Also, I will take feedback. I'm part of the community support team on Whatnot, and we provide feedback to directly to Whatnot. So if you have questions, requests, things that you notice that are glitchy, anything like that, please feel free to shout it out so that we can pass it along. They did some kind of update to the inventory. Has anyone noticed? I was trying to figure out. Well, they added a field. If you go into inventory, let me just show you. So if you go into your Seller Hub hamburger menu, inventory, they added a field where you can search. When you do the little menu, they added pre-bids in there. See that right there? So you can actually go into your inventory and see if there are pre-bids. I don't think I have any, but if there are some, so it is bringing some stuff up. So I don't know why, because I don't think there's pre-bids on any of that. But it's showing some different things. So maybe it's because I have to sort it by, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I noticed that was in there. And did you know you can sort your inventory by a bunch of different things? So you can sort by best match, lowest price, highest price, newly listed title. You can do categories, format. By format is whether it's live or buy it now. Price, if it's in stock or not. So if I want stuff that's in stock instead of out of stock, I switch it. So yeah, maybe stuff that's available for pre-bid, possibly. I'm going to ask because I think its intention is to show you stuff that has, but maybe that would mean it would have to be. Let me see if I sort if that's available. Yeah, it is available on active listings also. But see, it's showing me stuff that I have in there in today's show, but I'm pretty sure there are no pre-bids. But that reminds me, so you can also go now into your, I saw this come up too. You can go into your show that is, this is my show for later today. And in there, let me find it on here. Let's see. I swear I saw it on here somewhere that they added a pre-bid too. That's on, I think it's in shop. Yeah. So in your shop. So if you click into the shop, see that? they now have a little pre-bid button there. So you can click that, and if there's any pre-bids, it will show you. And see, there's no pre-bids yet in my show for today, so I don't know why it's sorting those. So I'll have to ask about that. Anyway, that's a new thing. You can hit your shop. So I'm in my show for today, hit the shop button. And if you're in the auction tab, if there's any pre-bids on anything, that's now available in the mobile. It's always been there on web for a long time, but not on mobile. So that's nice. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for joining. If you have questions, put them in chat with a question mark. And Truly Materialistic made the 1,000 sales. Awesome. Congrats. That's a huge hump to jump over, isn't it? To get to that and be excited about moving forward. Just says, thanks for advice. I did 2 shows and sold 8 things. First time, 7 second show. You're welcome. Congrats. All right. So, yeah, ask questions if you have any. I'm going to go look at something really quick. I wanted to see if they're still going to do an update show on the Whatnot Seller. They've been canceling them or moving them out the last couple of months. They normally have a show on that account for updates, and yeah, they've moved it again. So I guess they've decided either not to do those, or they didn't feel like they had any big updates to talk about. So they do have one scheduled on the 6th. I'll ask. I think it's interesting that they've been canceling those. So I don't know. All right. But there is on there an interview scheduled for the 8th. Or no, it's not an interview. It is a new seller show promotion quality best practices. So helping you learn whether or not you should and how to, well, not how to, show production. So things that you should do to help you get your show set up. So that one's scheduled on the 8th. And then they've got an interview scheduled for the 15th, but they haven't said who it's going to be yet. So that's on the Whatnot Seller account, which is the first start bullet in your show notes. All right. So speaking of hitting goals, like Truly Materialistic said that she just hit her 1,000 sales. Please make sure that you have goals, and then when you achieve them, you do something to celebrate that, because people love to come in and celebrate and congratulate you on making certain achievements. So, you don't have to do anything extravagant, but definitely, celebrate in one of your live shows after you've made that achievement in some way, to help yourself feel good, to give yourself a pat on the back, and so that everybody else who supported you along the way can come and also congratulate you. Just gives you a little bit of a boost and gives you a little bit of an opportunity to have additional people come in and celebrate with you. So celebrate those achievements. It gives you a theme. It gives you, a little bit of a fun theme to do in a show. So always make sure and take advantage of those opportunities. Good morning, Trish. How are you today? All right. What topic does everyone need to talk about, want to talk about? Off topic on May Denise. It's okay. There's no off topics. How do I know how to price my items and not be overpriced? You got to do a lot of research and kind of see, when you're watching other sellers in your category, how is everybody else pricing it? How is it received? Are people bidding it up? Are people not bidding it up? And don't always 100% rely on that, because if they have a really big audience, it tends to get bid up more than if they don't. But it kind of gives you an idea if you watch pricing, if it's not one of the shows where they just go crazy no matter what. It kind of gives you an idea where people usually will land on price, and then it gives you an idea where you can price it. Um, and when you're new, if you need to price it at exactly what it normally sells at, or maybe just a little bit less, so that you don't lose your shorts, it's okay to do that. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm with you truly. I don't do dollar starts except for every once in a while when it's, you know, maybe I do a dollar start on a raid, maybe I do a dollar start because it's been an amazing show and I do a dollar start at the end. Every once in a while, I'll do a dollar start on something that has, something wrong with it. It's like, who wants this for a buck? That kind of stuff. But for the most part, I don't do dollar starts. Um, and I was thinking about it the other day, and sometimes, the old, what do you call those kind of tales? The old tale of the the turtle and the rabbit, and the slow and steady wins the race kind of mentality. Sometimes it is better to be slower and steady, because the people that are just like go, 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 go as fast as they possibly can, churn and burn, it does come back to bite them at some points. Whereas the slow and steady, or I should say slower and steady, um, you may not be as fast and going as, hardcore, but you're equally as profitable in the long run, if that makes sense. When you know your supply costs, how much above that should a profit be? Well, in reselling, a general rule is at least double, usually triple. So the key with that is that you have to source low enough that you can at least double or triple what you paid for it, or it ends up not being worth it. And double is tight. So you need to source as low as possible. That's just a general rule of reselling, because you have to account for your time, you have to account for your materials, you have to account for all the costs of selling online on a platform, or even just people who go to flea markets and stuff and sell. You have to account for all your costs, and if you aren't sourcing at a low enough cost to usually get at least triple, then it's really tight and not worth all your time and effort. So you have to kind of do your best to source as low as possible. Um, so that's just a kind of a general rule, and anything above triple, of course, is bonus. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for joining. And I think a lot of resellers start reselling and don't realize that point, and they're trying, they're sourcing and realizing they're just not getting anywhere, and it's because their profit margin is just not high enough. You've got to be able to source really low to flip it. So that's kind of the whole idea of any kind of reselling. And thanks for asking. All right. Welcome in, everybody. If you have questions, put them in chat with a question mark so we can talk about them. On that note, anyone else in here been reselling for a long time that wants to add some comments to that concept? It's just a hard, fast rule of reselling is the lowest possible, sourcing price is what's going to make you be able to be profitable in the long run. Because you work, when you resell full time, you work harder and longer probably than you ever did. It's just that you have so much more flexibility. And if you reach a certain level of success, that's when you can start having even more flexibility. And the whole idea is the freedom and the ability to, grow at the pace you want to grow at. You don't have to answer to somebody else. You decide. And if you're not wanting to be a full-time reseller, then and you're just supplementing your income, that gives you a little bit more leeway because you're not as pressed to have to be, have a higher profit margin. So it just all depends too on your goals. Because some people come on here just wanting to get rid of the stuff they already have. That's a whole different game. You just decide at what price you're willing to let it go. You just want some of your money back or whatever. So, everybody has kind of different needs. Sometimes I see people coming on who are just selling their parents or their in-laws or somebody's estate from the family. That's a different ballgame. They're just trying to make as much off of it as they can. They didn't spend anything for it. They inherited it. They inherited that mess. And now they're just trying to get a little bit of money out of it. So just all depends on, what your backstory is and where you're, what you're trying to achieve. So I will say that it's important to, in some way, keep track of your cost of goods. Have a record of what you bought, how much you paid for it, or, what you started out with, and then what you know, I know it's hard in reselling to keep track of it individually. And I honestly do not keep track of every individual item. I go by, when I buy something in bulk, I know what I paid for it and approximately how many items I had in that haul. And then I actually go by when I start selling it, I know when I've reached profitability status, meaning I've sold it enough of it for enough of a price that it then wipes out that cost. And then from then on, it's profit. That makes sense. So, yeah, because it's too hard to keep track of every individual item if you're doing bulk buys and bulk selling. So, yeah. Let's see. Danny says, I have more money in my stuff, but then what I spend, LOL, it's hard for me because of all the shipping. Yeah, it is hard. You do have to control yourself with your buying and keep in mind that if you source on Whatnot, you need to be really careful because you're paying more because of the shipping cost. So I tell everybody it's super helpful to, as much as possible, do your sourcing locally because you're not having to pay shipping and you can see it, you can touch it, you can smell it, it's what the quality is, it doesn't have weird bad smells. You can tell if it's clean, dirty, all those things. Whereas if you're doing a lot of sourcing online, you end up with a lot of crap that you can't resell. So be really careful about what you're sourcing to resell online. So your best sources are your local sources where you can, really have control over exactly what you're buying. And then, if you have to get to a point where you need to source in volume, be really careful. If they let me into the seller's hub, does that mean I'm approved? Yes. Did you check? You should have some emails it's telling you that. But if you see the Seller Hub now on your screen, that should mean that. Hey, like it, swipe it. How are you today? So Danny says, where I live, no one knows what junk journaling is, and that's what I do, junk journal. Right, but junk journaling is in addition to the normal craft supplies. Check your spam, Vicky, because it probably went to your junk and spam emails. Is everything that people don't even realize is a junk journal item. Old photographs, old books, old just different types of paper, old magazines, old ephemera type stuff. And people will have some of that they just are getting rid of because they don't want it and they don't see any value in it. So you can source that kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, old stamps, old things are all what junk journalists love the most, honestly. The old authentic ephemera versus the scrapbook paper that's made to look old, or the newer craft supplies that are made to look kind of old. Am I wrong? Yeah, I think everybody in the junk journaling world would rather have the authentic old stuff. Yep. So that's kind of fun. Yeah, if they don't know about it, they're not going to be they're going to be like, heck yeah, take this box of old magazines or old books or old crusty whatever. Yeah. Yeah, if you only knew it years ago. I know all of us are that way, huh? So nothing in spam. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, Vicky, but yeah, you should have gotten something saying you're approved. But yeah, if you see the Seller Hub, then that means you've been approved, because otherwise it wouldn't be there. Maybe send a message through that email that you have your account with. The problem I'm having is in shipping. I list 1 to 3 ounce and a bunch of cells look like they're over 80 ounces, and it really isn't. Yeah, it can only go on what you put in there. So double check the weights on all of your listings to make sure you didn't accidentally put 1 to 3 pounds instead of 1 to 3 ounces, because that doesn't make sense. So double check all your listings weight that you have on there, because it can only go by what you put in there as the weight. Oh, you had flat rate, and that is the lowest amount offered. That is the lowest amount offered. I'm confused about it. Okay, so there is not a way to recoup overcharge on shipping. It overcharged you, or it overcharged the customer, or both. Well, I mean, you can message, but they rarely will refund any overcharges on shipping, because it just goes by what you put in there. Did you have an oversized package? Oh, someone else sold you something and you were overcharged. Well, I mean, you can message customer service about it, but yeah, very rarely will they reimburse people shipping. So you can send them the order number. Just go into your account activity, find that order, get help with order, message them, show them a copy of your invoice receipt, and show how much you're charged. But then you're going to have to show proof of what the package actually weighed and why you were overcharged. So yeah, something's wrong with the way you're setting up your listings if it's overcharging. So You need to really go through and check the weights that you have on there. Make sure you're using the correct shipping profiles that have the correct weight. If you set up any custom profiles, make sure those were set up correctly. Just double check everything you have in there. Why does Whatnot say a flat rate box can be 1 to 70 pounds, but it resets every 5? Well, if you have your settings set for 5 pounds and over to be ground advantage, then no matter what you have on the 1 to 5 pounds, every time someone hits 5 pounds, it's going to flip into the 5 pound ground advantage and charge them additional. So if you want to use the flat rate, you have to have 1 to 5 pounds and 5 pounds and over both set for flat rate, and then buyer pays max $9.21. And then it won't flip at 5 pounds. It will bundle it all into one package. So you have your, yeah, but the 70 pounds is the actual weight that a flat rate can be up to, but you have your shipping settings set incorrectly if it's unbundling it at 5 pounds into a different package. So you have to, if you want to do everything flat rate, you have to have it set 1 to 5 pounds, flat rate. 5 pounds and over, flat rate. Buyer pays max $9.21. And then when people buy from you, no matter how much they buy, it's going to bundle it into one package. And then if they buy too much that won't fit in a large flat rate or any size of flat rate package, then you will have to unbundle it on the back end and put it in 2 separate boxes or a larger box, turn flat rate off and change it to ground advantage. So I had bundled, but had to do 2 shipping labels because it was over 80 ounces. Okay, and that would be why, because you must have it set for, or if you were choosing priority and it had it, when you unbundled it, it was 2 separate packages that were under 5 pounds or over 5 pounds, then it would do it that way. Yeah, so just check how you have your shipping settings set. So honestly, for those of you who sell fabric, if you're in here and you sell fabric, the best shipping settings are 1 to 5 pounds, flat rate. 5 pounds and over, flat rate. And then if you are not too new and you can offer the reduced shipping, buyer pays max $9.21. And then no matter how much they buy, it just bundles their whole order. And then the few times you have someone buy more than will fit in a large flat rate box, you turn flat rate off and either put it in a larger container, including you can do a really sturdy poly mailer, stack it all up, put it in a big, huge, giant poly mailer, or put it in a bigger box. But your box can't be more than 130 inches total girth. Okay. Or you'll pay way extra. And so then you can either use some of your adjustments if it's, if it changes it, you have to use some of your adjustments. Because if you're setting it that way, then you as the seller, the max you're going to have to pay is also $9.21. So if someone buys too much and it's, adding it up in underground advantage, you're paying more than $9.21. Both of you. Does that make sense? If you turn it off, Whatnot still charges what the shipping was during the show, correct? Yes. Yeah. So the buyer always only pays whatever it charged them during the show. On the back end, you may have to use one of your adjustments or pay part of their shipping if you have to unbundle it. But the buyer only pays what they originally paid during the show. It doesn't go back in and charge them additional shipping. All right. And then also keep in mind that everything under a pound goes ground advantage no matter what. Unless you turn on flat rate and are willing to pay, you turn on priority or flat rate on their order because you want it to go faster as a courtesy to the customer, then you pay the extra cost because it automatically just goes ground advantage and charges them whatever the under 1 pound rate is. So Creative says also if the seller does not do the shipping correctly, it can affect the buyer when the packages are delivered for additional costs. Yes. So when you sell, please make sure that if you're selling everything under one weight, that you still go in on the back end and put in the actual dimensions and weight of the package if they are not accurate. Because just like Creative said, if you just print the label as is, you're sending it out inaccurate and it can get flagged and either sent back to you for additional postage or sent to your buyer postage due. How bad does that make you look? If someone gets their package from you and they have to go pay to pick it up, that's really bad. Don't do that. So make sure you are putting in the correct weights. That could apply on any kind of package if you didn't do it correctly. So for example, I've seen people using the flat rate boxes when the label is not a flat rate label. So you've got to make sure the label matches what the packaging is. So in my auction tab, if you don't already have a screenshot of this thing that I just pinned, make sure you take a screenshot of this. It's just a little visual chart that shows you, the type of package and what the label has to be for the different categories of service that the Postal Service offers. Okay. How do you change weight after? You need to use the web version. So you need to use a PC or a laptop when you do your shipping. And when you're on this shipping screen, you go all the way to the right. There's a little pencil at the end of each order. You click that little pencil. It brings up a pop-up menu on the sidebar where you can go in and say, if you have flat rate turned on, it makes you pick the flat rate packaging. And if you don't have flat rate turned on, you can go in and change the dimensions and the weight of the package. So you should be doing that unless you're a seller who sells the exact same thing over and over and it's all the same weight and you have it set up exactly for what it is. That's the only time you should just be printing the label. Otherwise, you should always make sure it's correct. The picture is the in-app scanner, which you should be using. So when you send your packages, right before you go to the post office, you scan every package by scanning the label on the package. You shouldn't be scanning the label before it's on the package. So if you're getting pictures of just a label, but it's not attached to a package, that means they're pre-scanning the label before they put it on the package, and that's suspicious. All right. Can you use an iPad for shipping? Well, you can sort of, but it's a mobile, so it's only a print from mobile, and you can't go in and change the labels. You can use it if you're going through the browser onto the web version. You know what I mean by that? So you're going through your iPad on Safari and going into the web version, but it's kind of clunky because you're on the mobile device. Does that make sense? Okay. So you should be using the web version of the software to do your shipping so that you can make those changes so everything's accurate. And it doesn't take a lot of extra time. You just have to learn how to use it. Crazy Stitchin says, I have a question during a show. How do you run 20% off the current auction item? It has to be an item listed in your buy it now. So you can manually just change it. So when you start auction, you know how it pops up the thing before you run it, and you can actually just change the price. So if you had a $10 item and you want to run it for 20% off, you just change it manually to 8 before you run it. But if you want the automated percent off, those items are in the buy it now and you're running flash sales. So look up flash sales. And those items you would list in the buy it now, and you can either have it set so they can buy it at full price when it's not running on flash, or you can have it reserved, meaning not available to purchase until you run the flash sale. So those items have to be in your buy it now. All right. Okay, so as far as shipping's concerned, those of you that are asking about shipping, make sure you have a copy of this document that I just pinned, the one that I had pinned before. And if you don't have access to reduced shipping yet, this is all applicable except for you can't choose the buyer pays max 921 yet, because they took that ability away from new sellers because too many people were screwing it up and causing a customer service nightmare. So this document will help you figure out which settings are going to work best for you. But again, if you sell mostly fabric, the best settings, in my opinion, proven, are 1 to 5 pounds, flat rate, 5 pounds and over, flat rate. And then if you can, buyer pays max 921. Because that gives your buyers the best shipping rate, and it gives you the best shipping rate on the back end. And then you can use adjustments or pay a little bit of the shipping for those people who buy too much, which is a good problem to have, right? Okay. So the rest of you, if you're listening and you don't sell fabric, then that's a different type of scenario. Most people who sell vintage, other items that are harder to pack and ship, that's usually not the best shipping setting setup, because you've got too many things that have to go in bigger boxes or shipped separately or. So, but honestly, the big sellers who sell in high volume, that's usually the shipping settings they use also, because like I said, on the back end, you don't want to have to be charged more than 921 as the seller either. And so you only want to have to add to that 921 instead of originally having a higher shipping cost. Okay. You are welcome, Lake Dad. So yeah, I love to share. Here's my mantra, honestly. I want every single person who comes on this app to to be as successful as they want to be. That's the truth. I want everyone to be successful. Can I make you successful? No. Can I give you information so that you can make yourself successful? Yes. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the effort. You have to go learn how to use this platform, just like I did. So if you want to be successful on this platform, it's a lot of work, but I'm here showing you where to get the information, giving you tips, just like all the other sellers who do seller chats. We're giving you a little bit of our time, a little bit of our knowledge, helping you. And then it's up to you to take that information and, shoot for the moon. You decide by how much effort you put into it, how much you do the research, how much you figure things out for yourself. Cat Berry says, on your weekly allowed adjustments from whatnot, how much in dollar amount will whatnot cover per adjustment? I don't know that there's a dollar limit. What is limited is if you go outside of the size or weight requirements, then they won't cover that. They also will not cover if you buy extra insurance on a package. That's on you. So the size limits are for anything that you're sending under 5 pounds. The max box, the box can be no larger than 12 by 12 by 12 in inches. So when you take 12 by 12 by 12, it equals 1,728. So if you have a box that when you add up the dimensions of the box, if it's larger than 12 by 12 by 12, it's too big. That will be outside the allowed adjustment size. Ground advantage. So if you're going over 5 pounds into a ground advantage label, the max girth of the box is 130 inches. So you measure your box, the height, the weight, and the the height, the length, and the sorry, my brain's still fuzzy. Length, height, width. There we go. If it's over 130 inches, it's too big. And that will be outside the adjustment. And so then they will make you pay the extra. And then the 70 pounds is the max weight on flat rate. And then there is a max weight on ground advantage, but I can't remember what it is. Does anyone know? But where they won't allow more than that weight. Well, they will allow it. It's just that they charge you extra. So, yeah. All right. So, and you'll know because it comes up with these warnings. This is not covered by your weekly adjustment. You're going to pay X amount. Are you okay with that? It warns you. And then you have to accept that. So if you've seen that come up, that's why. Because you're outside of, and it's going to charge you that extra. You as the seller. Not covered by an adjustment. Hey, Sasamom, welcome in. How are you? All right. So if you have questions, put them in chat with a question mark. Let me make sure I didn't miss any. Let's see. Well, laptop is better for doing your shipping. It doesn't necessarily have to be your second device during a live stream. Although I prefer to use the web version as one of my devices because I like the tools that the web version gives you. Although I will be honest and say that lately, the web version lags a lot. When you live stream, there's a lag between the mobile device and the web version. And so that's kind of annoying. But the web version has a lot more tools available to use to run your show. so you can see a lot more things. So, it just depends on, what works better for you. Let's see. All right, looks like I got all the questions so far. All right, so please read the show notes. And in the show notes, I have all those starred bullets. Please take a screenshot of all those starred bullets. Those are the official places where you need to go to get information and help on Whatnot. If you're a newly approved seller, please, I'm begging you, go to the Seller Academy, which is the third starred bullet in the show notes. selleracademy.whatnot.com. Go there, go through all the tutorials that they have. It's like the little Whatnot University, little classes, little tutorials that you can take. It just takes you through all the basics. And it's super important because even though it doesn't give you like the nitty gritty details, it at least gives you a basic so that you even know what to ask. Because there's a lot of sellers who come on the platform and they don't even know what to ask because they don't even understand the very basics. So please go through the Seller Academy and learn all the basic stuff so that you even know the right questions to ask. So go through that. And then also make sure that you are following that Whatnot Seller account, which is the first start bullet, and bookmarking all the shows. They have a lot of content shows that are geared for new sellers. And they have on YouTube, which is the second start bullet, the official Whatnot account has the past videos. So there's all these videos on the YouTube account where you can just go watch about all the different topics. And it's important that you get your initial basic information of how to use the platform from Whatnot, because that teaches you the basics, this is how to use the app. And then if you need more details, more information, you could come to shows like this where other sellers tell you all the tips and tricks and other things that their information doesn't necessarily go into the nitty gritty details. Okay. And you're welcome, Helen. Helen has her first show this Saturday, 4/4 at 5 p.m. Lots of beautiful fabric. You've been through the academy. Good. So another thing to do, Helen, if you haven't done this, do a private show before you go live Saturday for the first time. When you schedule a show, one of the options you can do is schedule a private show. So let me show you really quick. So you go into Seller Hub, schedule a show, fill it all in, put everything in there. At the very bottom, show discoverability. You can choose private. See private right there? Click that private box, create a show. It's a legit 100% official show. It just doesn't show up in the schedule. So nobody can find it unless you send them the invitation. So then when you've created that show and it's on your profile, let's pretend that this show that I have scheduled today is a private show. So then you go into that show, see that little share button right there? You're going to click that and you're going to copy the link. And then you're going to send that link to your friends and family. And so schedule it at a time where your friends and family who don't live in your own house can come. I mean, you can send it to your people that live in your house too, but don't let them buy anything because that gets weird. It won't let them buy anything. So you invite your family and friends and you practice doing a live show because it is a live show. So then you can have them tell you it looks good, the lighting's good, your sound's good. I can see you, I can hear you, everything looks nice. And then you actually practice running auctions and you have them buy something so that you can fulfill it. But it needs to be someone who doesn't live in your house. So they buy it, maybe have your best friend that lives, a mile away buy something, have her turn on local pickup so she doesn't have to pay shipping, if you have that turned on. Or maybe you have it set for shipping and you practice shipping so that you know how to do the shipping. So do a couple of private shows before you go live. It will help you immensely because then you'll know how to run a show. Let's see, they won't be able to. We tried because I was playing with shipping rates one night. They won't be able to do what? What won't they be able to do? Field trip? Did I miss something? Anyway, um, so yeah, I would highly recommend. Yeah, it won't let people in your same IP buy something. Yes, exactly. So it's got to be someone that doesn't live with you and is not on your IP address. Yeah. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Yep, that is correct. And be careful about doing that because if they see someone on your same IP address bidding, it won't even technically shouldn't allow them to. But if somehow they're managing to, like maybe they have their IP hidden, you can actually get in big trouble and get shut down for illegal shill bidding where you have, a friend or a family bidding stuff up in your auctions. So be careful about that because that could get you in trouble. Welcome in, feeling scrappy today. And Libby Faye, welcome in. So this is my seller chat. Andy is in the house. How are you, Andy? Thanks for being here. Make sure you're following Andy and like it, swipe it. They are also sellers. And my finger is not working. Trying to mod you guys and my finger's not working. Field Trip Quilting is a seller. So yeah, everyone that is an established seller, feel free to shout yourselves out. And Suze, are you going to start selling? Let's check. Not yet. Suze has an amazing collection. So you are going to start selling. Did you get approved already? Or are you just waiting? Welcome in, Vicky. Yeah, get your shows scheduled if you're approved. Don't wait to schedule shows. Once you get approved, get some shows on your schedule so you can start gathering bookmarks. And get as many as you feel comfortable scheduling, up to 10. Get them on there. You can always move them. You don't have to, if you put it a week away and you're just like, I'm not ready, move it out another week. Okay. You can always move them. Let's see. Helen, can you check my profile? Yes. Here is Helen. Everybody give Helen a follow. Her name is Helen. That makes so much sense. Hi, fabric lovers. I'm a longtime collector of fabric, and now I have an overabundance of fabric that I'll never live long enough to use. It's time to share. As a new seller, I hope you'll join me. Follow my upcoming shows for some fun and enjoy a beautiful and affordable fabric. And she has her first show there scheduled for the 4th. Can everyone bookmark those 2 shows? And Helen gets some more shows on there, so they have more than one to bookmark. And do you have some things listed? Yes, she's got stuff listed already. She's got some Holly Hobby and vintage Christmas blocks, cat square. She's got all kinds of cute stuff in here. Love that you already have some stuff listed. That's important because people can see kind of some of the stuff that you have. That's important. So awesome. Looks good, Helen. Yeah, get some more shows in there so people can bookmark more when you go live. And congrats. KMF says, I'm scared. Well, you know what? That never goes away. It just gets a little less scary. So I've been selling for almost 4 years, and I still get, butterflies. It's just that natural human, we get nervous to go in front of people. We get nervous to do anything, it just becomes more, you're just less scared, but I still get the nervous, little butterflies. So, yeah. How did you know the time was right to start? You know what? Honestly, if I could go back in time, I would not have delayed even one day. I would have just jumped in. Now, I will say it's important that you know how to do the shipping, but it's the minute that you feel like, okay, I've got my shipping settings the way they said to do it, just double check that you've got all the weights correct, double check your settings. If you want to use the envelope shipping, make sure you have that turned on and updated to all your shows. If you have everything set up, jump in, because the best way to learn this platform is to start doing it. And if you just keep putting it off, you're just going to keep putting it off forever. And the opportunity is ripe today. And every day you delay, the opportunity for growth is less. So, jump in as soon as you're ready. As soon as you can stand to do it, just jump in and start doing it. Because that's how you learn to really do it. Hey, Super Sales, how are you this morning? So, yeah. And here's the key. Consistency. Consistency is the key. You've got to just keep plugging away. And the platform is much more crowded than it was. I mean, I'm one of the original sellers in the category. So when I first started selling on the platform, it was me and maybe 3 or 4 other sellers that even sold anything related to fabric. Right? And so compared to now, I mean, it was funny because our category, you would go on and there might be 1 or 2 or 3 shows scheduled in a day back then. Right? So it's grown exponentially. So there's definitely a lot more competition, and you have to do things to stand out. But consistency is the key. And it just depends on what your goals are. Before you start going live, please, I'm begging you, write down what you're trying to achieve. It could be as simple as I have too much dang fabric and I just want to sell some of it and maybe, get a little bit of my money back or a decent amount of my money back. If that's your goal, write it down. And stay focused on that, and don't compare yourself to any other sellers, because that may be your goal right now. And then maybe a month from now, your goal is a little bit different. Okay, I learned how to use the app. I've gotten rid of a decent amount of my stash, and I love doing this. And now my goal is this. Write it down. Stay focused on what your goal is. Be consistent with what you're trying to achieve instead of what someone else is doing. Okay? Super important to stay focused on your own goals. Okay? not to pick on Andy, but she has a different goal than some of the other sellers. She's a mom of 5 with little kids at home. She has limitations. Her goal is to survive every day and do what she can on the side. That's a different goal than someone who's retired and, wants to get rid of their stash and can do, 2 or 3 shows a day or something, or someone who wants to do this full time and have, be $1 million seller in a year. Totally different. Everybody has different goals. Everybody has different abilities, different limitations. Yeah, Andy's a superwoman. Exactly. Let's see. I feel like people are getting tired of seeing the same fabric when I do another show with what I didn't sell last time. I agree. Try and mix it up as much as possible. So, I will say that I feel like when I have a theme, the show is going to be much more successful. So you can, sort your fabric by themes. Maybe you have a theme of everything's pink. Maybe you have a theme of everything's flowers. Maybe you have a theme of everything is, I don't know, holidays. Do different themed shows because, it sets your show apart. It's not just someone sitting there with a stack of fabric. Have a theme, have a purpose for what that show is going to be about, and mix it up. But you still can, have fabric that, if you've showed it a couple of times, maybe that piece of fabric needs to go in the buy it now for someone to just buy because you've showed it too many times. Throw it in the buy it now, flash sale it, and it'll sell. So do different things with it. You had an earlier question about the shop. Did I miss it? Let me check. Is there a way to have a shop without having a live show scheduled? Well, yeah, you can always put things in your marketplace. So when you create a listing, you tell that listing by how you set the settings where it's going to appear. You can either set it as a auction item, which then it only ever shows up if you're doing an auction and you have it assigned to that show. You can have it set as a buy it now item, which can be reserved for live or not reserved for live. If it's turned on reserved for live, that means it's only available during live shows. If that's turned off, it will actually appear in your marketplace available for sale 24/7. So those are considered marketplace listings. So it's a buy it now item that has that button reserved for live turned off. So not green. And then it will show up in your marketplace and someone can come buy it. Okay. So that is your shop that is available 24/7. So just pay attention to when you list an item, what you have set on the settings. Is it an auction item, a buy it now item, and then is it reserved for live or not? And honestly, to be frank, marketplace listings are fine, but you only really sell a lot out of the marketplace if you do live shows, because then people know who you are and they will, watch for those items. I sell something out of the marketplace outside of live shows every once in a while. Some sellers sell more because they're in a category that people are searching actively for those types of items. But it's not, unless you really focus on those type of listings, it's not like some other platforms where people come on and search for a listing to buy. Whatnot is all about live auctions. It's all about live shows. That's the focus. And so your marketplace listings are they're just the cherry on top that you might sell every once in a while. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. I'm probably going to butcher your name. Takachi says, make sure to not put seller pays all shipping. Yes, don't accidentally put free shipping on your show. She's telling you this from experience. Sadly. Yeah, make sure you check that. Who's going to pay for shipping? And if you mark, seller pays all, then you're offering free shipping. So only do that if you're genuinely wanting to offer free shipping. Yeah. Which is a strategy. It can be a strategy if you are, someone who wants to, shoot the moon. You're coming on here with full intention to be, a millionaire by the end of the year. So just decide what your goals are, what you're trying to do. I'm going to do a celebration show on Friday and still not sure what to do. Think about, here's what I'm going to say for that. What are the things that your viewers would tell you are unique and fun about you as a seller, and capitalize on that as something fun you can do for your show to celebrate? Yes, Live and Learn for young entrepreneurs is truly the best community. It is an amazing community. And I don't know that everybody understands and realizes that the 100% full intentions of the creators of this platform was exactly what's happening. They wanted it to be about community where people could come and sell and be passionate about the things that they love and interact with each other as sellers and buyers. That was their original intent. I don't know that they knew how fast and how explosive it would be, but that was the original intent. So if you don't love the community social aspect of Whatnot, this platform is not for you. If you want to come on here and just sell like you sold on eBay or other platforms where you just list and sell, and you don't want to network and be part of a community and interact with sellers and buyers in a social way, this platform is not for you. It's all about live shows. It's all about community. It's all about making connections. And, can you come on here and just sell and not interact? Yes, but you're not going to get as far as fast, and you're going to kind of be seen as an outlier. It's like, oh, there's that seller, but they never network, they never communicate, they never reach out, they don't interact with other sellers, they don't really, create a cozy, friendly community environment. And they're going to get frustrated because they kind of get sidelined, honestly. Sellers who don't play the game get sidelined because it really is all about community and networking and sharing and rating and just do all the good stuff. So the more you do that, the more favorable you will be seen by everybody else. And are we, as fellow sellers, competitors? Yes, technically we are, but we build a better experience for everybody if we network and grow together than if we try. If you're very competitive minded and cutthroat, it's going to come back to bite you. So Yeah. So if you get petty, if you get rude, if you get, miffy about different things other sellers are doing and you're very focused on that, on the competition, it's going to hurt you because people pick up on that. They want to be in shows with good vibes. They want to be in shows where they feel like everybody's excited to be there, happy to be there. You support each other, and it's part of the community. It just makes a big difference. So, yeah, you decide. Um, and if you really struggle with that competitiveness and feeling, I don't know what the right words are to say without being crass, but if every time someone tries to promote or says something in your show, you're getting all pissy about it, it creates a bad vibe. And people are going to pick up on that. So, yeah. Hey, Country Shade, how are you? There are great opportunities to create a solid group of buyers through building a tribe. Yes, exactly. So, you just have to decide what you are going to, what your persona is going to be as far as that's concerned. And I just feel like, there's certain criteria that will help you grow as a seller as far as, how much you can sell, how often you can sell, how many people you'll get in your shows. But ultimately, you're kicking against the pricks if you constantly are, creating a vibe of everybody's not welcome or everybody's not part of my community. I have my clique. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Thank you. Talk, and I probably totally butchered your name. Let's see. Talk at you. Talk at you. I don't know. Thank you. Enjoy your coffee. All right. So, yes, if you have questions, put them in chat with a question mark. I'm really bad with names. When I read usernames, some people use cute little ways to put it to make it sound like something. And I don't know if my brain just doesn't work, but I read it and I'm like, I don't know. I embarrass myself often. May Denise says this community is so much better than watching the news. Well, holy cow, isn't that the truth? I don't like any of the news anymore because I feel like they're all skewing it to one way or the other, and there's almost no truth in anything anyone reports on the news. I'm always like, it's kind of like the weather. You'll be watching the weather and they're saying this and that and the other, and you'll look out the window and you'll be like, did you even look out the window today? That's how I feel about most of the news. It's like they're just on there spewing whatever. And it's like, have you looked out the window? Have you walked around your neighborhood? Have you actually driven through what you're talking about? Because you are totally off the mark. So, anyway, always so happy says, I feel like I'm playing Mad Gab when reading. Exactly. Right. It's like, yes, there was a reason they used that username, but can I figure it out? No. So there you go. Phil Tripp says I watch Aaron Parnas for news. I don't know who that is. I'll have to look him up. So anyway, I just am like, honestly, I feel like you just need to pay attention to what's going on in your local communities, real live time, and try and focus on making your community, your neighborhood better, because that's where you have the most impact and can really make things better. So outside of that, you can obviously look for opportunities to serve and contribute, but it's tough. Let's see. Country Sage says, when I use the eyeglass case you made, I think of you. Ah, thank you. If I can sell and create those connections, I will feel successful. Awesome. Let's see. Phil Tripp says, yes, so important. I've started watching city council meetings. It's super interesting. And now I'm going to volunteer for a parks position. That's awesome. Very good. Very good. Yeah. Being involved in your local community is really where you can make the biggest difference. So look for, if you're a parent, the whole time that I was raising my kids, I volunteered at the schools. I needed to be there to make sure I was happy with what was going on there. And then I also substitute taught. So I was involved daily at the schools. I think that's important that you know what's going on at your kids' schools. Cedar and Lavender Quilt Shop. Hi, I'm wondering if sales and whatnot have a slow period during parts of the year and busier times. Yes, all online sales have peaks and valleys, and they are affected by a lot of different things. And one of the phenomena, it's not a phenomena, one of the things is end of month. So the end of the month will always be tougher because people have to have enough money to pay their rent or their mortgage and their car payments and whatever bills come due at the beginning of the month. So end of month shows are a little bit tougher than beginning and middle of the month. Right now, you have a couple of things going on. It's Easter week. It is tax time. It is spring break for a lot of people. It is, there's wars going on. There's all kinds of things. So you have peaks and valleys. And depending on what category you sell in, you have different high times and low times. The slow season overall, just in general, for online sales is when school gets out until the fall. That will generally be the slowest time because people are vacationing, people are doing other things outside. The weather's nice, they're doing yard work, they're doing other things. So that is the slower time usually. If you sell, things that are for those times of year, sometimes it's your biggest time. It just depends. So there's definitely peaks and valleys, and it can be affected by just all kinds of different things. And you just have to be willing to ride the roller coaster. I'll be honest with you. It is a roller coaster ride. If you don't like the peaks and valleys of any kind of selling, it's going to be a hard ride. If you enjoy it, there's a key to it. Plan for the valleys so that, when you're in, so when it's the peak times, you're doing things so that you have productive things you can do during the valleys. So always prepare for that. Yep, it's just true. And there's not always an explanation. There's not always an explanation, or the explanation is too multifaceted, And the other thing you have to stay on top of with reselling is trends. You've got to stay up on top of trends so that you make sure that what you have for sale is, matching what people are wanting to buy at that time, because trends change overnight sometimes. And sometimes you create the trend by something you do, honestly. There's no predictability, honestly, in a lot of what we do in reselling. So you've just got to be willing to ride that roller coaster. All right. Make sure you go through my auction tab and look through all those documents that I have in there. So you just tap the shop. So tap the shop and then navigate to the auction tab. All those things in there, 21 items, are just different things, different topics. Some of them I created, some of them Whatnot created, and some of them are just a picture of something. Like, for example, I have this picture in there so that you'll go to YouTube, to the official Whatnot YouTube account, and watch this interview that Kenny did with Colleen, who is a Whatnot product manager. It gives you a lot of insight as to how the algorithms work. She tells you in there some big time tips, hints of what you need to be doing to make sure the algorithms favor you. So, how do you follow trends and know what is next? You honestly just have to pay attention. So, when you're watching shows, what are people asking for over and over? When you are watching what people buy, what are people buying? What colors are they buying? What prints are they buying? If I'm talking about fabric, you have to pay attention to that. And if it's already being bought in hordes, the trend is almost over. So you kind of have to be at the beginning of the trend to know to get it, to have it for the duration of whatever that trend is going to be. Now, there's some tried and true things, that are the staples that you should always have, the things that people want. But like right now, for example, I'll give you an example. A tried and true thing for many, many years in quilting has been cave type stuff, actual cave and cape type, and batiks. And guess what? Those are not trending right now. They're kind of on a slump. So, but they'll always sell. They're just not trending. What is trending? A lot of niche type prints. One of the things that's probably on the downside right now is the Highland cows. That was a big thing. Everyone had wanted the Highland cow prints for months, but it's on the tail end, right? Well, I think batik will be back in. It's just, when are people going to start wanting it? It's a tried and true, but you aren't going to get as much money for it right now because people just aren't buying as much batiks. So you just kind of have to know what people are wanting. And there's some things that are, really hot, and then other things fade and go into the background for a while, and you have to know kind of what people are collecting. I'll say a tried and true is tiny micro florals. That's a tried and true. Everybody wants the tiny prints. But even those sometimes are on the back burner. So you just have to kind of watch what people are looking for, what people are asking for. In a lot of other types of categories, you can actually go use a product called Google Trends. If you go into Google and type Google Trends, it will take you to Google Trends, and you can type in words and it will tell you statistics about how often people search for that term, that word. And you can kind of see, it takes, some practice. You go in there and use it. And you can actually sort it by regions. You can sort it by age groups. You can sort it a bunch of different ways. So Google Trends, go look it up. It's kind of interesting. I don't know how accurate it is for certain categories, but it works well with, mainstream products. Yeah, good old Google Trends. You can look it up. But yeah, you just have to pay attention to what people are looking for, what they're asking for. And like I said, you can actually create a trend by having something that all of a sudden people are like, oh my gosh, that's so cool because of how you showed it, how you talked about it. And then all of a sudden everybody wants it. So, yeah. Yes, it is kind of fun to go on Google Trends. And with AI now, you can also use AI on ChatGPT or other software and ask, because it will tell you statistics about how many times people searched for certain things, or ask ChatGPT or AI somewhere. You can even just use Google AI. It'll tell you. So, Craft Industry Alliance does trend reports. There you go. So, Craft Industry Alliance. Yeah. Trade shows, if you can make it to trade shows, I have mixed feelings about trade shows, because I think sometimes they try to create a trend, but that doesn't necessarily flush out that way. No. So look and see what's at trade shows, but what matters is how well it's received. So, and like I've seen a lot of fabric manufacturers, design, whatever manufacturers trying to do a lot of digital stuff. And I feel like if it's too digitalized and we can look at it and go, this is just a repeat pattern, we don't like it. I see patterns like that and I'm like, okay, so it's, this little fun thing, but the way that they structured the pattern, there's no artisticness in it, and I don't like it. I think a lot of true crafters like things that are a little bit more like, you can tell that it's not just a digital design that someone slapped on a print and it repeats. Does that make sense? You guys know what I'm trying to say with that? So we like to still see some artistic, uniqueness in a print, not just slap a, little design on something and it's just, repeated on a print. Yeah, exactly. So, but there are some trends in that too, because people love to have, some kind of trendy thing slapped on some fabric, because then they can use that fabric to represent that trendy item. So, yeah. Yeah, if there's just a repeated digital print, then it has limited use often, because you're having to cut depending on how it was printed on there. So, yeah. And that, you could even say that's a trend, because people like prints that are more versatile. They aren't directional. There's a lot more ways you can use it, because then that fabric is more usable, because you don't have to cut it in an exact way to be able to use it. Do you know how to get your own design on a print? Oh, well, there's multiple businesses out there, including Spoonflower and a bunch of others, where you can, come up with a design and then have it printed on fabric. Will people necessarily, like, you can have a design on Spoonflower and people can go buy it. But yeah, if you just want, it's kind of like publishing a book. You can publish a book on your own all day long. Doesn't necessarily mean, people will ever buy it. You can do the same. It's a vanity thing. You can have your own design printed on fabric if you want to, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to sell it. It just means that you can have it done. Yeah. So Spoonflower what are some of the other ones that people can do? I know there's design presses out there, but it's very expensive because you're paying for, the service to take your design and print it on the fabric. Yeah. So in the publishing world, it's called a vanity publish because you're getting your book printed, just to have it in print, but not necessarily with the intention of having it published for sale. Welcome in, JB Nail. All right, did my thing freeze? Does anyone know of any other ways that you can get your own print printed on fabric? Paintbrush Studios, you can order bolts of custom printed fabric. There you go. Always so happy. Welcome in. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different ones out there now where you can do that, which is very cool. It's really cool for companies that maybe want to have, fabric that you can make stuff out of and have their logo or their design put on it. Whatnot did that for a very limited amount of time when I was, it was probably about 6 months in after I started selling. They actually had a couple of Whatnot employees that were dedicated to growing our category. And they ordered some custom printed Whatnot logo fabric and sold it and gave it away. So a few of us have a little bit of that precious Whatnot fabric. We're not allowed to sell it. We're allowed only to make stuff to give away. So, because it's licensed, that makes sense. Yeah, school mascots. So yeah, lots of organizations and companies can have fabric printed with their things on it. That's cool. Who would have thunk, right? Pretty cool. I would love to have the ability to do that myself, but the equipment would be outrageous. But you can do that to a certain extent with, just some of your home machines, your home embroidery, your home Cricut, things like that. You can make your own designs. So yeah, the Whatnot fabric is unique. Is there a wholesale place for fabric? Oh, there's tons of wholesale places for fabric. I mean, you can buy direct from, the different manufacturers if you have the credentials. So just like anything else, if you want to buy wholesale, you have to have, whatever they require, business license, tax certification, and so on. Welcome in. Thanks for joining. How's everyone? All right, I need to get going here pretty quick. So if you have any specific questions that you need help with, ask away. And I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday morning on my treadmill. And I just provide information. I have different cheat sheets. Next month, the community support team is going to do a specific topic. So the topic for next month, if you want to bookmark that show, it's on the 15th. Let me pull it up on my profile right here. So make sure you have that show bookmarked. And we're talking about marketing yourself on social media. So what can you do on social media to enhance and help grow your account on Whatnot by using social media? So we're going to talk about that specific topic on the 15th. So make sure you have that show bookmarked. And we'll try and bring you some really good content for that. Let's see. Story Hub Home says, oh, thank you for your purchase. Story of Home says, if I do a craft along, do I have to run auctions? No, but per terms of service, you do have to have something for sale. So put some items in your buy it now. And it's not a bad idea if you're doing a craft along to have kits or the items that you can buy to make whatever you're showing available, because a lot of times people love to be able to, watch your craft along and then buy the kit. Maybe you do it in a previous show so that they can buy the kit and then be there in the craft along and make it with you. So you do have to have something always for sale when you go live. So that's why I always have items in the buy it now so that people can buy them. And it makes sense. It's a platform for, sales. So Whatnot wants you to have something available for sale in all shows. So yeah. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for joining. All right. We will go find someone to raid. I need to get going. Again, I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday morning. I'm in Mountain Time, so I usually start 7:45 a.m. Mountain Time. And then once a month we go live in front of the camera with a specific topic. Sometimes I'll go live twice a month in front of the camera. It just depends on how busy I am. And please bookmark all the upcoming shows. And please feel free to shout out your shows if you have one coming up here pretty quick so that everyone can support each other and bookmark your shows. And thank you so much for being here. So let's go find someone to raid into. I'm going to go look out there and see who's live in Fabric. So let's go raid into, let's see. Oh, Cambria is pretty new. She's going through her vintage stash. Should we go raid Cambria? Let's see where she's at. 945 sold. She's really close to her 1,000 sales. So let's go raid Cambria. And everyone have a wonderful day. Oh, thank you, country. I will. You too. Have a wonderful day. So we're going to go raid into Cambria. And let me get her pulled up. All right, here we go. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day. See you soon.